Um, so I'm trying this for the first time using a dual setup of my phone precariously perching above my laptop, as you can see. Um, I'm gonna try to make this work. I think people that would consider themselves professionals probably figure this shit out before they start streaming. But hey, we're here to learn together. If I put it, yeah. So we'll do it like that. We'll see what happens. What's up, Facebook user? So on Facebook, I actually can't see who's saying hi to me. It just says Facebook user. So on Facebook, you have to tell me who you are, or else I'm not going to know. All right. So welcome everybody to another exciting edition of Tuesday Night Live. Oh, what's up, Amanda? Yeah. How is everybody's week going? What's going on? Hope everyone's well. I'm trying this with my room lights on. It's pretty bright though. Let me see. What happens if I actually turn these lights off? How's that? It's not like still pretty good, right? Perfect. So yeah, thank you all for joining. What's up, Jess? Jess, I can see for some reason it says your name. So some people it's telling me who it is. I don't know what the deal is with that. So yeah, nice to be here this evening. I'm also trying it without headphones. So tell me if the audio is okay. Sometimes we do a little of this to see. Give me an okay in the audio. Audio's great. Amazing. Oh. DJ faux shizzle. Love it. Yeah, so happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to another exciting edition of TNL. Let me know what's up with all of you, how you're all doing. Yeah. Has the wrong date on my Facebook Live. So, yeah. Yeah. So happy Tuesday night, everybody. This is our chance to drop in with each other to, chat, see what's up, have a little bit of a moment where I get to see what questions you have, what you guys are thinking about, where you're all at with things, and see if there's any way that I can serve you and support you and lead you all in a really nice little healing meditation at the end. So now is your great opportunity to tell me your question. Ask, and ye shall be answered. Be answered. Be answered. I really enjoy doing these things because it lets me show up as myself. I don't have to, play any roles for any yoga studios or lots of things you can and can't say and can't talk about. It's very political in the world these days. So this is an awesome opportunity just to be able to share directly think my ideal, you know, life would be to only do it this way. Would be to completely step away from all of the kind of like in-person hierarchical things and just share direct with all of you, and then maybe lead some retreats on my own at some point. But I'd love to really just focus on virtual. I think also because I can reach more people. It's more fun. So for your Tuesday night, what do we want to hear about? What is going on? You can hear me over the music people on Facebook. What would you love for me to share about? What are you thinking about? It's a good question. Sometimes I use is what are your edges, right? So what are some of the things that you're kind of like in your own lives, trying to process, struggling with, trying to figure out what's up? Okay, starting off, Jess says Scorpio season has been intense. Feels like shadow season, question mark. Lots of spirit animals showing up. Just having a tough time sleeping and finding balance. Not from stress, but more like you just want to be awake. Any advice on balance? I have advice on everything. I'm an opinion generating machine. So yeah, things have been intense, and it's really good to feel our feelings when they come up. I myself actually went on a big hike this morning. So this is a thing that I'm doing now. Is every single Tuesday morning, I take myself on a hike in Topanga up into the mountains here, and that's my way of kind of just staying sane and staying grounded, and really dropping in with myself. So finding that time to connect to myself, to do something physically active in nature for myself. That's kind of one of my ways. It's it's something I don't know if it's like a cultural thing, but we often seem to feel like the way to find solutions is to like push more and to do more and to try harder, and it's a lot of very forceful like yangy energy. And something that we can also look at as more of the yin energy, more of the receptive energy, that when things get intense on the outside, we can actually become softer. So maybe looking more towards things like baths and saunas and massages and spas, and things that when everything outside is a lot, that we can really turn more towards the slow and soft self-care stuff. That's one piece of advice that I can give. um yeah, and finding balance. Balance is an interesting thing to talk about, and it's questionable about what balance even means and how realistic balance even is, because at certain times we need to be out of balance, right? Like if you're a mother giving birth, you need to be consuming more than normal. You need to be living your life in a different way because you're about to have an energetic event happen. If you're launching a business, same way, right? Sometimes when we're about to do a thing, we need to put more energy. We need to live in an unsustainable way for a short amount of time to make a thing happen, right? And knowing when our behaviors are to support a short-term goal that's on the way, in which case we can live out of balance and we can live unsustainably, because we don't need to sustain it. We just need to keep it up for X amount of time. Or if we're looking at something that's more of like, hey, like a lifelong thing, like a bigger stretch of time, then balance kind of comes into play. And I think balance often happens naturally. Balance is something that, we kind of go too far in one direction and we start to experience pain, and then we start to move in the other direction. And that's like a natural process for us too, right? Is that we naturally start moving away from things that are painful, away from things that feel too much or too chaotic. So a lot of that just kind of happens on its own. It's like if you're standing and somebody just kind of pushes you to the side, you just naturally kind of autocorrect and then come back. So there's a lot of that balancing that's just happening all by itself. And you know, what I always find interesting too is that life is just changing and there's all these different seasons. Oh no, Phil crashed on his bicycle and now he's all banged up. Um, Sorry to hear that, bro. We'll do some special healing energy for Phil after this. Phil is, we'll call him a Zen friend. If you really practice no self, Phil. I was going to say two things at once. I was going to say, A, don't practice no self while riding a bicycle. And then I was going to say, and if you're really practicing no self, it shouldn't matter if you get hurt. But what I think is interesting about balance is that, things are always shifting and changing, right? The seasons are always changing. The way that we live in the winter has to be different than the way that we live in the summer. For instance, in Chinese medicine, you eat with the five elements. You like eat with the seasons, and if it's really hot outside, then you eat cooling things like fruits, right? So it's also like in the summer, you eat more like fruits and veggies and things that cool the body down. In the winter, then you eat more of the cooked things because there are things that warm up your body when it's cold out, right? So balancing, it's often finding these like opposing forces, but it's always shifting. Also, there's times where like there's all this stuff happening in the media, or like something will happen in like a relationship, or like in Phil's case, right? He fell off a bike. So it's also situational, so the life that we're living in, the world we're living in, is constantly moving, constantly shifting. And so the need for balance it's a constant thing, because we're not up against a flat surface. If I were to balance sometimes I like to go out and balance rocks, right? And I balance like a rock, and I balance a rock on that rock, right? And it's like when you're balancing a rock, it's like I get the earth and it's flat and it's hard and it doesn't move. So I can balance a thing and I can do all these micro movements, and then I can leave it and it just stays. We want to create that in our lives, but it's not possible. We all seem to have this thought or this feeling like there is something like a happily ever after, or like a moment where we're going to figure it out, or like we're going to get our schedule dialed in, and then that's going to be the thing. And the truth is, it's not realistic that it could last for maybe a little bit of time, that there can be an amount of time where we can have balance, or a certain schedule or way of doing things, or set of rituals or routines work. But as soon as things around us shift, as soon as the season shifts, as soon as new people are in our lives, as soon as whatever shifts, what we need is going to shift. Right. And so it's also figuring out like what are the things that are more like the pillars, and then what are the things that can kind of come and go. If we try to uphold the exact same thing all season long, it's not going to work. Right. But maybe it's like, but I do want to eat, organic all the time. And I do need to drink a lot of water regardless. And I need to make sure that I'm moving my body. And, there are things that are applicable throughout. And then there's also things that are more short term and short sighted, and being clear on those. So I think, long answer made short is it depends. It depends in each moment where we're at and what we need. And really just listening to yourself. And if you're feeling like you're going too much in one direction, then go in the other direction, whatever that means for you, right? If you're too much external, then make yourself a little more internal. If you're too much internal, make yourself a little more external. Unless, of course, you're going through a phase where you need to be more internal, right? So, yeah, we love recipes. We love cookie cutter, absolute truths. But something that I've learned throughout my spiritual path is that truths are hard to come by. Absolutes are hard to come by. Things that are perennially true are hard to come by. That it's more often the case that there are things that are true for certain circumstances and certain moments, that there are things that are helpful at certain times but are not going to be helpful at other times. And so it's up to us to always stay present, stay awake, stay aware, and not go into the autopilot, because when you get in the autopilot, eventually you realize that you are drifting off the road, and that you're kind of like, oh wow, like this, I was feeling great and suddenly I'm like depressed and tired again. What the fuck? Like I was over here, now I'm over there, right? So I think that this is really just an invitation to be more present in our lives, to really be more aware of what's going on, and really see what it is that we need, and where we're at and what feels good. We're allowed to focus on feeling good as well. So thank you for that question, Jessica. Yeah. Anything else? What else would people like to hear about? Some thoughts, some rambling thoughts and reflections on. Facebook user: I'm going back to school for my master's in mental health counseling in December. Congratulations. And I'm anxious about balance. Um, yeah, things are going to change. I'd like to know a little more about the spiral, maybe a summary behind the idea of it. Cool. So, the spiral is a modality that I practice. It was founded by this guy named Dane Thomas and April. Cool. And the kind of like background of it is that he was trying to figure out a modality and a way to kind of support people. And he talked about having, one of these like mad scientist moments where he just had all these different like modalities on the table and, the chakra system and the thing and this and that and that. And he was just looking at them, the Chinese elements and just and all the things. And eventually he got to this point where he had kind of the chakra system and then he had the levels of consciousness, which is something, if any of you are familiar with power versus force. Power versus force talks about this is actually also a really cool topic, power versus force. Power versus force talks about, how do I say it? Well, one of the cool examples that I appreciated from it was that it said, like the earth has gravity, right? And gravity is power. It's just there, right? But a plane is force, right? A plane needs to fuel an engine and push itself and be moving. So force requires fuel, right? It requires effort. It requires like push. It is not sustainable on its own, right? Power, like gravity, is just there. It just exists, right? So this can be applied in a lot of different ways in ourselves as well. It's like, in which ways are we forcing instead of dropping into our own power, right? I see this a lot in conversations. People are like arguing and pushing things instead of just saying how you feel, which is power. This is my truth. You just speak it. There's no force needed. So, really noticing when we're forcing and when we're just kind of being with. So, that all being said. So, the spiral, it's a combination of power versus force in the chakra system. What Dane figured out was that in the power versus force, he created a level of consciousness using muscle testing kinesiology. He found that different energies had different, we'll say, powers to them. For instance, something like shame is like a very low energy state, right? It's very contracted, it's dull, there's not much to do. It's kind of like this like depressed, numbed out state, like shame, guilt. Like there are all these states that it's hard to move from. But as you get into higher and higher states, you get to things like love and ecstasy and enlightenment and things that are really more powerful and kind of they can move. They're just stronger energies. So he was able, through using kinesiology, to actually create like a table, like a systematization of all of these different, states, vibrations, emotions, whatever you want to call them. Dane took that list and the chakras and put them on top of each other and said, well, if like the root chakra is the densest chakra, that means that the densest things in that, table in that list are overlaid onto the root chakra. And conversely, the highest vibing and the lightest things in that list are overlaying onto the crown chakra. Right. So what the spiral is, it's a series of 7 sessions. Each one focuses on a different chakra using the themes that were kind of figured out through Hawkins there, power versus force, David Hawkins. So you go into all of these different themes and you find what are all of the emotions connected to them and all of the ages connected to them. So for instance, in a session of the spiral, you would go into the root chakra, say the first session. Go into the root chakra, and the root is shame, guilt, and dogma. So you go into shame, and then you muscle test to find 3 ages connected to 3 emotions. So let's say I'd go through it, and we'd be like, oh, like 7, there's embarrassment, and I'd be like, what happened at 7 that was embarrassing, right? And then we'd go, and then we'd say, okay, at 12 there was terror. Okay, what was that, right? And then we'd say at 16 there was overwhelm, right? And then we find what are these memories. And as we combine these memories and talk about the pattern that we're seeing between all these memories, these ages and emotions, these memories that are bringing up, we see how it connects to your narrative about shame. Right. And we see like, oh, so all these stories actually are giving the story and the impression that you feel like it's not okay to be yourself. Then we do an energy clearing. We remove all those memories, those energetic kind of anchors within you. And then we create a new energetic anchor. And we say, what would it be like if you were allowed to shine, right? How would it feel if you were loved as you are, whatever it is? And then it allows you to connect to a different pathway. So pretty much as you're going through the spiral, you're kind of like defragging your whole computer system. You're going chakra by chakra, clearing out memories, ages, and emotions, and giving it kind of like the correct, almost like chiropractics, like giving it like the correct view. And you go up and you feel what it feels like, and you get lighter and lighter and clearer as you go. And as that happens, you also start shifting your actual external life, and the way you relate to situations changes, and what you feel like available for, and your ability to set boundaries, and your ability to say yes to the things you do want. It all starts to shift at once. So, I've led about 30 people through this. It's like a 2-month process. And by the end, it's always the person's just like in a very different spot. It's really cool. So yeah, that's what the spiral is. Really neat modality. If anyone's interested, obviously you can get in touch with me later. I do that. I do that thing for people. Um, but yeah, so cool. Any other questions? Any other questions? Anything you guys would love for me to cover this evening before we get into the business of healing and meditation? You are so welcome, April. What's up, Lily? Thanks for joining. I kind of wish, like I said this before, I wish that we had I want music that's copyright free, so I could play it and not get shut down by Facebook. I know it exists. Um anyway, I should play the Jeopardy music, see if there's any questions, Dun 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. If there's no more questions, we'll get to the meditation and healing. Cool. All right. So I invite you guys to get comfortable. You can sit or lay down as you want. There's no right or wrong way. This work happens in another dimension, not in the third dimension. So it does not matter what your body position is, what you are doing. It does not matter. I invite you to get comfortable. And when you get comfortable, you can close your eyes. And you can take a deep breath. So breathing deeply in through the nose, down into the belly, out through the mouth. And I invite you to begin by feeling the space around you. We're always trying to think our way through things. But what if there is a cloud of information around us, just like on a computer, right? Things go to the cloud. What if we actually had a cloud, a field of information around us, and all of the answers that we ever needed were right here, just waiting for us to shut up and open up and receive them? As you breathe in, imagine that you're breathing the space around you into the body. Just imagine you're breathing 360 degrees space into the body. All the space from around you is getting sucked into you. And listen into that space. Just breathing, listening, expanding outwards. If you're feeling funky, let yourself feel funky. If you're feeling contracted or tense, no problem. If you're feeling expanded and light and relaxed, no problem. Just being with however you are. As if your mind was opening, as if your head itself was opening, that your consciousness was merging with the consciousness around you. Breathing in, filling up with the space, breathing out, dissolving the boundaries of the self, actually becoming that cloud, that field of information and energy, that expanded consciousness. Hmm. Softening, breathing. And bringing this all down into your heart. And feeling into your heart. What do I need most right now? Just letting the answer come on its own. Are there any feelings that need to be felt? Anything that I need to be doing for myself? Are there any parts of me that I've abandoned or pushed away that are asking to be heard, seen, or felt? Just allowing the entire body to soften, allowing this field of energy to just flow down through into the body, softening all of the barriers and boundaries. I'm going to send some energy out into the group. Just relax, receiving. Just breathing this energy, this vibration in wherever you need it most. Just breathing this in, receiving, softening. Taking a deep breath. Just imagining a bubble of light around your whole body. This bubble of light, just about an arm's width away in all directions. This protective shield only letting the light through. Just using your imagination. And taking one last moment just to release all efforts. Rest. Allow the mind to be. We can rub our hands together until they're warm. Place your hands over your eyes. You can rub your eyes, your face, your head. You can rub over your body, your shoulders, your chest, your arms, really just reconnecting to your body consciousness through touch. Just kind of smoothing out, massaging out, rubbing out the energies. Put your hands in prayer position. We share this light, this peace, this protection with everyone and anyone in the world who needs it at this moment. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Karaniya mata kusalena yantam santam param abhisameche. Sako juche sujuche suvacho chasamudu anatimani. Santu sakoche subaroche apakitro chesala hukavuti Santendrioche nipakoche apegabo kule suananugiro. Nache kuram samachare kinshiyena vinyu. Pare upavadeyom sukhinova kemino hantu. Sabe sata bhavantu sukhitata. Ye kichipana bhutati tasevata vera anavasesa digava ye mahantava majimara sekanukatula ditava ye vedite ye chidure vasanti avidure bhutava sambhave siva Sabe sata bhavantu sukhitata. Naparo param nikubete nati manyete kata chinam kanchi. Pyaros na patiga sanya nanya manye seduka micheya. Matayata niyam puta mayusa ekeputa manuraki. Evam pisababhute sumana sambhavaye aparimanam. Metanche sabalokasmi manasambhavaye aparimanam. Udam adoche tirianche asambadam averam asapatam. Titancharani sinova sayanova yavatasa vigata miro etam sati mariteya brahmametam vyadamidemahu ditinche anupagama sileva dasanena sampano game suvinea giram nahijatuga beseya Punyareti heti Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Bhavantu Samangalam Rakantu Sabadevata Sabuddha Sabadama Sangasangna Bhavena Saraswati Bhavantu Te. Taking one last really deep breath. When we're ready, coming back completely. When you're ready, slowly returning, you can open your eyes. And thank you all for joining tonight's session. I just chanted the Karaniyametta Sutta. This is the language of Pali, so it's close to Sanskrit. It is actually the nearest approximation of what we have from the Buddha's language. This is a Buddha Sutta, so this is actually the words from the Buddha. It's a teaching on loving kindness. And it's about 2,500 years old, so you just probably heard the oldest thing you'll ever hear. And it's chanted often to send out merits and blessings and protect spaces. And in the teaching itself, it talks about sending out boundless loving kindness across the whole universe, the deepest depths to the greatest heights, to all beings, to the big, the small, the short, the stout, the plump, those close, those far away, the seen, the unseen, those born, those yet to be born. May all beings be happy. Just as a mother would protect her only child with her very life, so too shall we develop this boundless loving kindness for all beings, residing in the sublimeness, as they say, as divine abiding. So it's almost like a godly level of place to be, is just in this loving kindness and in this love for all beings across the world, and this harmlessness, just sending harmlessness out across the whole world through all space and time, just harmlessness. So love, compassion, harmlessness. Yeah. So thank you all very much for joining. Seeing a lot of fours on my multiple screens right now. Hope you all have a really beautiful week. Have a really great it's Halloween. Is that happening soon? Next Tuesday night live on Halloween? Maybe. We'll see. Anyway, I'll see you all next week on Halloween. Tuesday night is Halloween. All right, we'll see. I don't know. Maybe there'll be kids trick or treating then. We may or may not do it on Halloween. We'll see. But yeah, thank you all so much. Have a really beautiful night. I appreciate your presence this evening. I'm happy that I was able to get this going on Facebook and Instagram. So yeah, more to come. Thank you.